Fam, let me just start off. Let's get Tulsi's tweet up on here. What he said.
And we discussed this yesterday. But Pasta wants to go in it again because he's changed his mind.
I don't even know if I changed my mind. More evidence has come to light, and I've gone to dive into this. Me and Johnny Tsunami were up really till early in the morning going over this, whatnot. Let's read the tweet off from the beginning again. It says, Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris. Joe Biden did not celebrate or coddle segregationists. Let me stop right there. She should have put in New York. Okay? I know it might be very simple, but she was referring to what Joe Biden said a couple days in New York. Yes, back in the day, I believed it. We said it yesterday on the show that Joe Biden did coddle segregationists to get this incrementalist kind of policies pushed. Segregationists back in 1977, so you can't say he didn't coddle it. But she was referring to what he said the other night in New York. So let me just point that out. It's a bad tweet in that sense, fam, but let me get into it. His critics have unfairly misrepresented his important message to score cheap political points. I agree with Clyburn and Joe Biden. In order for Congress and the president to get things done for the American people, there needs to be civility in Washington and in the country. The ability to work with those we disagree with, even those who hold some views we abhor. Did I say it right, fam? I love it. In order to Congress to work for the American people, we need to find common ground with each other. That is not possible without civility. We need another president who is going to continue to divide our country. We need a president who will unite us. United we stand, divided we fall. Now, fam, let's kind of get into this right now because we kind of talked about this yesterday. And once again, we were upset because, number one, it's the person that she said that she agrees with. And it's Joe Biden. In the same sense, she said Joe Biden and Jim Clyburn, which is talking about this time. Now, let's take a look at what Joe Biden said. And me and Johnny watched this, 2 or 3 times last night?
To what she's directly referring to.
Exactly.
Which I disagree with you. I do feel like she is coddling him.
Well, let's take a look.
The former vice president under fire after citing the work he did with segregationist senators as an example of the civility that used to exist in Congress. Speaking at a fundraiser in New York City Tuesday night, Biden told the crowd this: I was in a caucus with James O. Eastland. He never called me boy. He always called me son. Herman Talmadge, one of the meanest guys I ever knew. Well, guess what? At least there was some civility. We got things done. We didn't agree on much of anything, but we got things done. But today, you look at the other side, and you're the enemy, not the opposition, the enemy. We don't talk to each other anymore. Many 2020 contenders, including Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris, quickly responded to Biden's comments.
Okay.
All right. Do you want to talk? You want to see the comments they made and stuff like that? Do you want to talk about that first, or you just want to talk about that?
Let me just talk about this first.
Okay,
first of all, if you are a politician like Joe Biden and you make a statement like that, that is a racist statement. Of course, he didn't call you boy. You're a white man. Boy is a term that is used by white men to refer to black men in that derogatory way. Is the term boy? That is racist. That is backward. That is something he needs to apologize for. Are they manipulating Elizabeth Warren and Harris? Absolutely. We know this. They do this all the time. They're manipulating it. Was Cory Booker genuine? I believe Cory Booker was genuine in the fact that bothered him. But I still feel like there's a manipulation. Now, to say that we can work with the other side across the aisle, absolutely. We can work with Republicans as much as we want. But there is a line to be drawn when it comes to segregationists. And if you don't draw that line, you are part of the problem. And I don't think that you can say, well, we got things done. We got segregation done. Okay. Like, I'm sorry. There's a line that you draw to whom you work with. And I believe her statement, though taken out of context, absolutely, should not have been made and should not have been made in defense of specifically that, because that in itself is a very racist term, and he should apologize for it, regardless of how I feel about Warren, regardless of the manipulations of the Democratic Party, regardless of anything. I'm sorry if I am a black person in America, which I'm not. I'm definitely going to have a different point of view than people who are clearly dismissing it.
Yeah. Okay, so most of the people who look at the polls, and they talk about the polls right now, they talk about how Biden has the support of black voters in the South because he has the Obama shield, whatnot. And I just want to say something. He was talking about the way things were back in 1977. And I understand where you're coming from. It's different nowadays. But the way things were back in 1977 were different. And he was simply stating the fact, his relationship, how they were talking back and forth. And I understand where Cory Booker's coming from. And I still think it's a far cry from the people that he was dealing with. He was trying to get this. And once again, I think we have to dive into the policy, whatnot. It wasn't like Joe Biden was completely standing behind these people's policies.
He absolutely was.
He was trying. First of all, we have to look at the policy.
He was absolutely standing behind them. He was absolutely.
So you have the bill. What is the bill?
What are you talking about?
What
It was
bill
the
are we
letters
talking
on the
about?
segregation.
I understand
he was talking
that.
about that.
But once again, there are people who are saying that he was trying to get other issues passed incrementally and still coddling these people to get certain things done. It was still the opposing party.
It's still the line you have to draw.
Okay, I understand, but it was 1977. And it was a totally different time.
It comes off like it's being excused. And
it's 1977. Schools were segregated in when? The 60s and whatnot? It was a different time. So when you have to get in there and get things done, and once again, I don't want to be on the point of supporting Joe Biden, and he needs to learn how to fucking talk. I'm not saying that. Joe Biden is a warmonger, whatnot. But
Joe Biden is a racist, and it's very clear. It's very clear. I mean, the crime bill, Anita Hill, we could go on. And I'm not going to focus on even
by
his,
that mentality.
His words.
Everybody has racist policies.
A lot of these people have. I agree.
And then in that case, when Bernie signed off on drone strikes, he had racist policies he stood behind. You know what I'm saying?
That's not the same comparison, though.
What do you mean? If you're talking about bombing people of color across the way, it's a racist policy.
You have to specify what bill, because when he did that, it was in order to get something else.
I understand. And that's what Joe Biden is saying, that he agreed with segregationists to get other stuff done. I'm not going to agree with that. But once again, I'm just saying it's 1977. But let's get back to Tulsi and her mentality on this, which he was talking about. And this is the thing. We have to stop censoring speech of some sorts. You know what I'm saying? Hate speech is different than when you're just having intellectual conversations.
That's not an intellectual conversation.
What do you mean?
Saying he did not call me boy is not an intellectual conversation.
But that was the part that was wrong. And I'm not saying that. Like I said, he had to learn how to speak. But the main issue, what he was talking about, is having conversations with people who disagree with you. And that is the main issue we're dealing with right now. Anytime people disagree with your thought process, they call you a racist. You said so yourself.
Yeah, of course.
They label you whatnot.
Absolutely.
It's okay to get in there and have some conversations that you might have to, like, for instance, when Ted Lieu attacked Candace Owens about Hitler. And he was trying to make this line and saying, oh, you're a Hitler. You're a Hitler sympathizer, when she was talking about Hitler's goals and what she thought they were. So they attacked her just for simply mentioning Hitler herself. And now they're attacking it the same way. The main thing about what was said, and Tulsi said it, none of these people really gave a screw damn piece of shit a care about anything. When Obama was making Biden the number 2 most powerful man in the world. But now all of a sudden, you want to take this right here, and you want to use this for political gain? Yeah, Kamala Harris, of all fucking people?
Of all fucking people.
And all I'm saying to me is I think that, really, to tell you the truth, from what was said and how it was said, Tulsi's playing the rope-a-dope.
I disagree. I don't think that was the right move at all. I think it was a bad tweet. I think she shouldn't have said that. I think it really hurt her. As far as some progressives, I think it might have gained her some Republicans or independents, but she's running in the primary right now. She's not trying to win the general right now.
So you think it could have gained her some Republicans and independents? What about Biden supporters?
No.
When Biden drops out, where do they go?
They don't like her regardless.
I don't know. You said on the thing yesterday, I think you said the people were scratching their head going, oh.
Yeah, they're scratching their head.
Well, let's look at what this guy put on our tweet from yesterday, fam, because you disagree with this.
Yeah, I disagree with him.
Well, let's put this up here. Can you read this for me?
No, you read it.
Ah, damn, it's small. I agree with... hold on a second. Let me clean my glasses.
Here you go. No.
Thank you so much. Here you go. I agree with most everything said on the cast, which is yesterday. However, I disagree with the point... politically smart or not. I happen to believe it was ultimately a smart move for her. She's the only candidate to open direct bridge to Biden voters. She didn't ratioed. What's that say? She didn't get ratioed? She didn't get rationed?
Rationed.
Okay, and her follower count has went up by the hundreds, and it's still climbing. So even though she might have lost some progressive votes, she gained a lot of cred with moderate, liberal, and conservative voters. Tulsi is apparently proving you get more done with honey than spit. Let's also acknowledge one thing. Biden's shield is the Obama's legacy. That's why Bernie and Tulsi have been more measured when they deal with Biden. Tons of Democrats are still in denial about how bad Obama years were actually were. Excuse me. No amount of airing dirty laundry has made Biden voters budge to any other candidates. I've just seen no evidence of that. However, Tulsi's alternate approach seems to be making the most impact with Biden voters. Listen, I'm just curious, fam. I would like to go out there and see some data and said, if you're a Biden supporter, who's your second choice? I don't know what I'm saying politically, and what this guy opened my eyes to, I was like, wait a second, I never even thought about that. And I started thinking about everybody, and we talked about it, Johnny, right? We talked about this yesterday. We said, why are these Democrats, the establishment Democrats, attacking each other? They all want that money. They're fighting over the same money. It's just like what happened with the Republicans. Jeb Bush got the money first, then they gave it to Marco Rubio, then they gave it to, what's his name, your boy, Ted Cruz, and then eventually Trump beat them all. So they're jockeying for this money, and I don't know.
No one is denying that this is not they're not manipulating this for politics. That said, trying to defend his statements there is wrong. And I criticize Tulsi just like I criticize Bernie when he said Joe Biden is my friend, or when he said that I don't think Joe Biden is a racist. I disagree with both of them, and I will tell them that to their face, because to me and to many people, not based only on what he said to Cory Booker at all, but I've been talking about Joe Biden and his problems with the crime bill, Anita Hill, everything he has done has hurt millions of people of color. And when you stand there, and even if she didn't mean to defend his actions, which I genuinely believe she's not going to, again, put him on her cabinet, or she's not going to go crazy defending him and stand by him. I don't believe she's going to do that. I don't think Bernie Sanders is going to do that. But even just to say something like that without clarification and without having the mentality that maybe if I'm a black person in America or a person of color in America, and I see you defending, even if it's my perception, even if it's not reality, perception a lot of times is reality. And it just does not come across like someone that is thinking about how black people in America have had to endure this under this system. And it really just comes across as completely glossing it over. And I know my brother Nico said this morning. She's a woman in Hawaii. She probably hasn't had to deal with that. And I get it, and I'm not one to go into identity politics. I freaking hate them. But at the same time, I just genuinely feel like that was the wrong take. And again, I think there should be something said.
Well, if it's an apology towards black people, like you said, or people of color, I can understand that. I don't think it was a jab at black people, whatnot. I think she was kind of...
I don't think she meant to do that, but that's how it can come across.
And once again, when it comes to like calling Bernie, he says, "Oh, Bernie, Joe Biden is my friend" and stuff. I don't care. I'm so sorry. All I care about is this politicians push for their ideology, push for their policies, and what they're going for. I don't care if he calls Joe his girlfriend. I don't care if he calls him Susan. As long as it helps him sign on the dotted line, then so be it. Now we have a super chat here. And I hear what you're saying, whatnot. Pasta, please give me some examples of progressive policies that racist Repubs reach across the aisles to support. Seems like an excuse for Dems to compromise. Well, how about when the Republicans stopped Obama from cutting into Social Security, whatnot, back in the days? Remember when Bernie was protesting against it? I mean, listen, I don't want to give examples and say these people are doing any work. And Nico did make a great point. When you reach across the aisle, what are you really promoting? What are you fighting for?
Right, because that can mean reaching across the aisle and giving in to segregationists,
yes,
which is what happened. That's not reaching across the aisle to accomplish compromise, and that's the difference I see in that statement. And I don't agree that statement is something that he should go on and not apologize for. I think it shouldn't have been this whole giant thing where Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris get involved, because we know they're using it for political points, and that's the part of Tulsi's statement that I agree with. And I'm not gonna crucify her for it. I'm not crucifying Bernie for it either. But I am thinking that she shouldn't have made that statement, and I think it did hurt her a little bit. And I think that it was, I can't find the word that I'm looking for. It was kind of just not looking at how other people would feel, especially some of her supporters who are of color that commented yesterday on that they didn't feel comfortable with it because it felt tone death. That's what I'm looking for. Tone death to their situation. Yeah. And I think that's something that you can't just gloss over and say, oh, we just need to focus on policy. Yes, absolutely. We need to focus on policy, of course, but we cannot just forget how sometimes our words do affect people. And I always look at actions over words, which is why this is, to me, it's not as big of a deal. But at the same time, we also have to look at how that's going to be perceived in the general scheme.
And once again, we don't like Biden over here. I mean, Fam can even defend me over here. She knows I don't like Biden. When I caught up with Norman Solomon, I love to get on all that stuff and talk to him. And that video is on our YouTube page, so please go ahead and check it out from the convention. It's great. I don't like Joe Biden at all. But once again, I think if you take this statement, what she made, this tweet, and you kind of apply it, take it out of politics and apply it to people in the country, in the world and stuff like that. We have to understand that there is a culture of like, oh, you can't say that. Right. And when you say you can't say that, you're actually adding towards the censorship, towards the actual cause of like getting people to follow and get in line.
I agree with you.
And you know what I'm saying? And that's what the whole thing is. And that's how the mainstream media operates. You can't say that. You can't have those nuanced conversations. If you say this, you're a racist. If you say this, you're a sexist. Where I think we have to find some common ground to say, hey, we have to have these conversations. We have to have these tough, nuanced conversations to get to where we need to get to.
And she could have absolutely said that without saying the first part and defending Joe Biden. She could have said something like what I said, like we need to stop calling everybody a racist. We need to have these conversations. We need to do this. And reaching across the aisle, by that I mean we need to talk to people we don't agree with, which is something she does.
Isn't that the main problem though, fam?
But she didn't just say that, and that is my entire point on that.
But isn't that the main problem is what I'm trying to get at is the fact is that we keep labeling and demonizing people and stuff, and then we don't have these conversations. And this whole thought process that we can't do business with people we don't like, or we don't like the way they speak, or we don't like their ideology is ridiculous, because the only way to get things done is to work with people we don't like. As a business person, how many times do we do things and deal with people that we can't stand? But we smile, we grin, and we bear it because it's the best. We're going to play this Tulsi video real quick because I think it was a great video, and then we'll follow up with the super chat. But this is what Tulsi's message. This was another play on her message, and it's 7 seconds, but it's like, hey, fuck all the bullshit distractions. Let's get to the issues and talk. And when it comes to Elizabeth Warren, when it comes to Kamala Harris, when it comes to Cory Booker, they can't attack Joe on policy. You know why? Because they're in line with that policy. So they take a cheap shot on Adam right here. And they use this right here. It's it's a difference if Nico House was giving Tulsi shit than Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, and Cory Booker giving Joe Biden shit. They have no business. Fam, get that Tulsi up there.
Let's set aside the politics and talk about what's real.
Okay. Ruben Masagwa is going to go after me right here and saying it was a different time as a defense, as saying it's all lives matter against Black Lives Matter.
Thank you.
I disagree with that.
I absolutely agree with that. It's a privileged point of view to have. And I think that, again, I agree with Tulsi. I agree that it's a cheap shot. I agree that they're manipulating the situation. I 100% stand by you on that. But I also think that just kind of washing over that and pretending like that didn't happen. And I agree we need to get things done and look at policy, and that we're all hurting under this capitalist oligarchy, under this system. I agree with the fact that it's an economic thing, but we cannot overlook the concern that these people have endured throughout the years and recently. And when you say things like that, what Joe Biden says, and even Tulsi's first part of her tweet, it makes us feel and other people feel that you are completely ignoring that plight, that you are completely glossing it over.
This is always going to be the hard part. And it's like when I say, it's like, well, what do I have to say something and I have to have a disclaimer with it and whatnot? And, it's introducing the mechanisms. And I understand, fam. And that's where this comes. This is where this dance comes from. And I think Tulsi learned a lot from it here. But once again, I still think that politically, Rocky Bellinger said, Pasta, I hope she's doing the rope-a-dope. Rocky, after everything I saw last night, we went down the rabbit holes. We started looking at this stuff some more. We constantly watched Joe Biden's his speech, what he said, to say, is he really, in this particular point, when Joe Biden was talking, was he really coddling and celebrating those people at that moment?
I wouldn't say he was celebrating, but I would say he was coddling and kind of minimizing what they said, which was extremely offensive and racial. And then she defended that, so she is defending him.
Yes.
And so then that's just, to me, the wrong take to have, and I don't agree with it at all.
Ruben, I just want to point out that I do believe that Black Lives Matter, because I do believe that all lives aren't equally at risk, and that's why I believe in that, whatnot. However, when people, I think that the term that Blue Lives Matter bothers me a lot more than all lives matter. Like, it might be equal, but when people go, oh, Blue Lives Matter,
Yeah, that's
really a shot to when some
ridiculous.
people were saying, all lives matter, don't they? And I think there's a group of people who are saying that to we really focus on them to kind of counteract the Black Lives Matter, because I believe they're both a proper message. But I do believe there are people in the mainstream who don't understand it completely and think that all lives matter is just okay to say it, which I don't, especially if you're using it to combat Black Lives Matter, because Black Lives Matter to me is a positive message. It's not being negative, saying, hey, our lives matter. Okay, it's proactive. Let's fix the problem, And I let you read something yesterday from Armin. I haven't seen him on the thread today. I want to give a call, and you said you agree with Armin. I was like, wow, the way he kind of puts things, the way we're all getting deceived.
We are.
The way we're all in this. Oh, Ruben also says, I'm not accusing you at all, Pasta. Much love. Ruben, you didn't have to spend $2 more to tell us that.
Thank you, Ruben.
We love you, Ruben. And don't get me wrong. And as we continue to do this, me and Fam have made a point to get into these chats because we want your opinions. We want to talk to the people.
We want to hear from you.
You know what I'm saying? We learn stuff. That what we put up today was on our YouTube comments. And Johnny came running up right when it was posted. And I was like, wow, strategically, politically. Fam, we didn't talk about this real quick. Politically, guys, do you think it was a good move to somewhat align yourself to get those Biden votes after? If you're a Biden supporter, if Biden drops out first, who do they go to?
They would go to Warren. They would go. I mean, I did not see any Biden supporters at the convention cheering for Tulsi. The only people I saw, the only people I saw cheering for Tulsi were, Tulsi has older people who support her.
She does. Shut up. Be quiet.
But
Be quiet.
you know what I mean? I just don't think that. No, I think they're just gonna ignore that and continue supporting Biden. That's it. I think it actually hurt her.
I think a lot of older people that are pissed off right now at these kids taking shots at them might go over to Tulsi after Biden drops out.
Do you want them to go over to Tulsi though? Do you want that kind of support? Like, I mean,
what do you mean?
But they're not going to. But I'm just saying, like, do you want that kind?
I don't give a shit.
Then that doesn't classify her as a progressive, and ultimately it hurts her because if you're being supported by centrists in the third way.
Listen, I don't give a shit. Listen, she's got Trump voters already supporting her. She's got independents voting for her. Her ideologies are her ideologies. Who votes for her is another different thing. I don't give a damn about that.
But
I'm not going to start measuring the credibility of the voters itself. I'm looking at but I am thinking about the optics of my candidate, which is rope-a-dope. Tulsi Gabbard. She's playing the rope-a-dope. She's setting these kids up. She went right after Elizabeth Warren. Do we have our flyer ready, Johnny? She went right after Elizabeth Warren because you know what's the key matchup on Wednesday night? Take a look, ladies and gentlemen. Tulsi versus Warren. Steel cage match.
And let it be clear that I support Tulsi over Warren based on policy. Absolutely, 100%. I think she is awesome. I don't think she's definitely not a racist at all. I don't, but I disagree with her tweet. I think it was a bad tweet. I stand by that. And I completely disagree that it was the only benefit she might have is getting other people to think of her. Oh, maybe, she's a little bit more center headed. But I think as far as getting the progressive support, I think that's definitely going to be a challenge.
What other point do we make these establishment Democrats get back out to bay? Not just to falsely or just like, what's the word I'm looking at? Just all these stupid attacks that have nothing to do with policy. They're all gaslighting, platitude attacks that really have nothing to do with policy whatsoever. Was there anything in Tulsi's policy, which she said in that tweet, was a mention to it whatsoever? No, but they won't attack Joe on policies. Elizabeth Warren won't attack Joe on policies, especially when it comes to Venezuela, because her ass is sitting there supporting regime change. Kamala Harris supported 3 strikes. Cory Booker was one of the votes that shot down Bernie's bill on pharmaceutical, on prescriptions to help old people out to get, okay? So let's be honest over here. When it comes to policy, and that's the only thing that should matter, Tulsi
actions over words, absolutely. And let it be clear, again, that the people who are calling Tulsi a racist, who are saying she's done, and a lot of these are Bernie people, not all of them. A lot of them are Warren people. I think that you are jumping the gun and you're being a hypocrite because, again, she made a bad tweet. Bernie has made multiple tweets like that, and nobody is leaving him and telling him that they're not going to support him anymore, that he's canceled. I think if we're going to be fair, we need to apply that across the board. Okay, there's that universality thing. We need to apply that across the board and be fair and say, if you're not going to cancel Bernie over that, if he still has some policies you support, then by all means, that's fine. But you can't do that to Tulsi. And a lot of these people have been waiting for Tulsi to mess up on something so they can be like, I told you so. And then it's just like, no, that's just not the case. It's a very unfair thing to do.
Let's get some hellos and some shots out there. Money Train James says, Tulsi lost me with that dumb junk. Were you there in the first place, Money Train James? How about Jake Foray? Jake, used to work with Jake, works with me now.
Hi, Jake.
Jake is in a play. Jake is awesome.
Jake, we'll have to see your play. Let us know when the times are.
Hey, Jake, by the way, we did good last night in the tip pool. I underestimated what I made. We did a lot more, so it was a really good night. It's going to really help us out. Jake has been working a lot of day shifts. He's had to give up night shifts to make a sacrifice for his art. And Jake, you keep on doing it because
I hear good things about that play. By the way,
we're
I saw it on Instagram.
Sold out Instagram. A creation breeds creation, Jake. So when you do your creation, when you do your art, you're helping people expand and use a part of their brain. It's called abstract thinking. For me, art is just as important as hospitals. I know it sounds kind of funny, but it's the way we think, and going down the rabbit hole, we got to be there. Unknown Space, Pioneer, thank you for joining on in. Paul Gambling, of course, we want to say hi to a couple people on Nico's MCSC network. Chektal Warrior, we said hi to you before. Jason Walsh, Russia did it. I agree with you. This is fucking Russia all over again. Joe Snake 100. They're going to attack Tulsi in that debate. She better come ready. Listen,
I'm sure she's ready.
We keep on talking about the rope-a-dope fam, and I told you, Muhammad Ali was stripped of the world title because he refused to go off to Vietnam and fight. He said he refused to go off to another war and kill other poor people. He will not do it. They stripped him of his title. Then eventually he made his way back. He fought Joe Frazier and lost. Joe Frazier then lost the belt to George Foreman. Now, George Foreman, a young George Foreman, not the Gary Coleman grill, the George Foreman grill, was this big, powerful young guy who used to knock people out with one punch. Muhammad Ali gets a title fight with him in Africa. And they asked Muhammad Ali, and this is weeks leading up to the fight, just like we're leading up to this debate, what you going to do, Muhammad Ali? I'm going to float like a butterfly. I'm going to sting like a bee. In other words, he was saying he's going to dance. Everybody thought he was going to use his footwork and dance around him and dance around Joe and try to get him that way. But he didn't. He came out and he used a tactic called the rope-a-dope. And Joe was not prepared for it. And later on in the later rounds, Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay knocked out George Foreman. Tulsi Gabbard is doing the rope-a-dope. Show him the rope-a-dope, Johnny.
He did.
Did you show him?
Yeah.
He showed the rope-a-dope. He did a dancing and whatnot, and it really caught him off guard. And what Tulsi did here, the timing of it, because we were saying, right, Johnny? What was the mentality of Tulsi doing this? Why would she do this now? What was she thinking? She said,
I think it was an emotional thing.
I don't know.
It doesn't seem like as I don't know. Some thought to it, of course.
Because there's a lot of
Tulsi.
people.
She always thinks it through, but
the Joe Rogan people, the people who support Tulsi, and she listens to them, they're sick and tired of censoring speech.
No one's saying
they're
you're
sick
censoring
and tired
this,
of that.
fam. No one's censoring this.
No. I'm just saying that's why she maybe have done this, because she's going to have the nuanced conversations, and she's going to talk about these things regardless
she chose
if it's
a hell of
or
a
not.
subject in Joe Biden right now. Though, like, he's literally hated by the majority of people. It's just like,
I understand
it's just
that.
Tactically, to me, a wrong move.
He does have a lot of votes, and they have to go somewhere after. And once again,
I think he has way less than we think.
I'm telling you this, fam, right now. Yes, there's a part of me that says there was a little insensitivity to black people in the past, people of color in the past, with this, whatnot. It could have been done better. But the overall tweet itself, what's that?
Johnny says he
Johnny
shouldn't
said you
have
have
used
Biden. Okay, but the overall sensing arching message, she's right. And you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to go donate to Tulsi Gabbard because I feel strongly about it. And Tulsi, go get him. Knock him out, Muhammad Ali style.
I hope she, comes strong against Elizabeth Warren, because I think Warren is Bernie's main adversary. And I think Elizabeth Warren is one that people are choosing second to Tulsi or to Bernie. So
we're getting a wheel here.
Yeah.
It's time to get out, fam.
Yep.